Um, I do not have anything so novel as the capacity to translate New Testament Greek to offer you this morning, but I do have something that you have not seen before this weekend. I have a man on the stage. Welcome, Bradley. You got the clicker? I want to begin by just reminding you that this great body of Methodist women that I see in front of me, and if you've not done it, at some point just turn around and see how many of you there are. And Brad came in this morning and he said, isn't there a great feeling in this room that what we have here is not just one small and very positive snippet, back one, of the life of the Methodist Church in Britain, but is a snippet of the life of the Methodist Church across the world. And across the world, as Methodists, in Britain we might be declining, but across the world there are 80 million of us Methodists. And as part of that 80 million, you are part of a movement which is as big as Anglicanism worldwide, because there are about 80 million Anglicans. So although we might feel ourselves to be the smaller denomination in Britain, worldwide we have, we punch the same. I think the fact that we are equally 80 million is slightly dubious, and I suspect that we're counting the last Methodists and Anglicans on the fingers of one hand. But, I just like to feel that perhaps the Methodist fingers just stay one ahead and that we just edge it. I don't know. But I think it's so helpful just to remember, as we've learned through listening to stories with Becca and looking at language and translation, just to remember that we are, and our way of doing things and our English versions of the Bible, even within Methodism as a factor of Christianity, is just one small part of a worldwide movement. And as part of that movement, as Methodist women, you are not only Methodist women in Britain, but you are part of the World Federation of Methodist and Uniting Church Women. And I just put this picture here. It's really difficult to grab pictures from the World Methodist Women website. But, there are 90 units, and as we've said with the way people translate the Bible, that's only a small proportion of the places where there are Methodist women, but they're not in proper units. There are 90 units in 71 countries, and even on its own, that is 3.5 million women. So know that you are part of something bigger, and know that your part matters. And so do the parts of all these other wonderful women on the screen. Now, not only are we honoured this morning because a man has come, but we are also honoured because, of course, amongst our number, we have the former world president of Methodist Women Worldwide. So, Alison, where are you? Thank you. And Alison, I didn't get the chance to ask you to do this, but you were at several of these events. Are you able to name any of the places where these were happening? Okay. Yes, okay. Becca's step count is on the rise. Thank you, Becca.
I think a number of them are my photos.
That doesn't always mean we can remember.
Top left is Accra, Ghana. I'm not sure about the next one along. The next one with the Thursdays in Black Banner is Sao Paulo, Brazil. The other world offices are currently in Brazil at their area seminar. The one at the top right is Hong Kong with their wonderful tree of life with the fruits on it. Down the bottom is, that's Ghana. They're all in their beautiful costumes. Bottom, I think that must be Fiji, where we were all sitting outside having our photo taken when we managed to stop dancing for a while. I think the next one is Northern Ireland, it's Belfast. These are all area seminars, right? and the one at the bottom is probably Houston for the last actual physical World Assembly. And since then, of course, there's been an online one. So I've spoken more than you thought I would.
Well done. Woo-hoo. Let's hear it for Alison. So how do you feel connected to these people? You get, I hope, the Tree of Life magazine, which is the magazine of World Methodist Women. You could write something for it and share something of your experience, something about what's happened here. It would be brilliant to put in some of those prayers that you have translated. That would be absolutely fantastic as a bit of a contribution. And of course, that's edited by Lydia, and Lydia, our friend, is in Romania. And that's just one tiny snippet of the international flavour of the group that you're part of. And through them, you have representation at the UN and in various committees. The people who do that tend to be the people who live in New York, because it's much cheaper for them to get on the subway than it is for us to send somebody over from somewhere across the world. And maybe today you would like to think about our Methodist sisters and brothers in the US. They are engaged in the General Conference of the United Methodist Church, and they have some really big ticket items on the table. And one of them is that question of how a worldwide church relates to its different regions. And that's a big deal because, as we know from God in Love Unites Us, people within one country have different views. People across the world might have very different views. And how can different countries follow their own views with integrity without not enabling others to follow theirs? So let's pray for them today. And click. Thank you. Thank you. Click again. Where do we point the clicker? Oh. Keep going. That's an error. That's my error. As part of what we do as Methodist women is that we have the Helen Kim Memorial Scholars. Now, Maddie, who's just done that wonderful translation of the Lord's Prayer, is our Helen Kim Scholar. And the other is Heidi, and she is the Irish Helen Kim Scholar, because our area is Britain and Ireland. Now, Maddie, wonderful though she is, will not be the Helen Kim. Oh, and that's Helen Kim. If you've ever thought, what does it mean, Helen Kim Scholars? She was the woman who left some money to fund her idea that we should grow younger Methodist women in leadership. So, just be now beginning to think, after Maddie, who are the young women in your Methodist community who might benefit from the opportunities which Maddie has had, the opportunity to be at the World Executive, to be at the World Assembly, to be at the local assembly, to contribute to the area seminar, to contribute to all the things that are happening, and to develop leadership within Methodism within this supportive context. Be thinking about your community, because that role is a 5-year role, and Maddie will then move on to other things. Okay, now, you also get chance, next, thank you, thank you. You also get chance, do you want to step forward where I can see you? No, okay.
I'm all right here.
You also get chance to meet with some of these wonderful European Methodist women this coming year in our area seminar in Porto. Now, we've talked about this for about the last year, and it is now soon approaching. If you think that you would still like to come to Porto, which, next slide please, is in, and enjoy the sardines, which are pretty spectacular. So spectacular we paint porcelain copies of them. Friendship, fun, fellowship and faithfulness with this group of women who are just wonderful, but you didn't book. There is still time. But I can't stand here and say, and it will cost you this much money, because the hotel rates fluctuate because it's now, those rooms are all on the open market. So there's fixed charges for being part of the conference, but the hotel rate changes. So if you think, I still would really like to go, and actually I didn't know about it, and it does look fun because, next slide please, Portugal as we know, is a pretty fantastic place. And those who've been to Porto know it is absolutely stunning. Next slide, please. A picture of Porto. Next slide, please. And there, if you come, as many people are doing, you can stay on before or after and see some other pretty remarkable bits of Portugal. I know some people who are flying into Lisbon and staying in Lisbon for a bit, then getting a train to Porto. People are staying in Porto after or going to, or doing all sorts of things. Next slide, please. Oh, go back, please. Thank you. Thank you. So lots and lots of really good things happening in Porto. And the next World Assembly will be in, just help me with the maths here, Alison, 2 years' time.
2026.
Thank you. Yes, I'm not great. The numbers just elude me somehow. And at the moment, 2 very exciting venues are being spoken about. So if you, I encourage you all to get a little piggy bank and put little bits of money in it to save to go to Porto. But if you think that you might actually want to go to the World Assembly and be with these wonderful communities of Methodist women across the world who sing and dance and speak and share and have joy and sorrow and stories, and we can be part of all of that, then get a chunky piggy bank and start putting your bits in it, because things are looking really exciting there. Well, we don't know. That's what I said. There are 2 possible venues at the moment. The reason we don't know is because it has always previously sat with the World Methodist Conference. And because of COVID, the 2 events are now decoupled. So previously, we didn't have to choose where to go because it was fixed by the World Methodist Conference. But now the world is our oyster. Do I mention, Alison, the 2 places which are in the front running? I think the former world president has just been overruled by the room. So when I said last year we might have our area event in X or Y, I'm not sure everybody hung on to the word might. So just hear the word might. That's the first and very important word. Brazil. Whoa. New Zealand.
I'll go.
Yes, I think we'll need a token man. So we have a World Federation baby. We could do we could take you as well. And then the last thing I want to talk about is about the thing which is in all our minds at the moment. Now, next slide, please, thank you, which is the Easter offering. And I really want to encourage you to put any energy and clarity that you can behind the Easter offering in your particular area. And I want to do this for 2 reasons. The Easter offering is our gift to the Methodist Church. And as part of the writing team, and please volunteer to join the writing team, but as part of the writing team, it's quite hard to do, actually. We're currently doing next Easters, and Ruth, bless her, is the lead writer on that. But this is our gift to the Methodist Church. It is not for Methodist women. So when people say, the Easter offering, I'm not putting any money in that because it's for Methodist women, and what do they do besides have coffee and crochet? A, there's a story to put right there. And B, it is not for Methodist women. It is for the World Mission Fund. And because of our historic roots after the war, saying, come on, we can roll our sleeves up and help here. Refugee crisis in Europe, reconstruction of Europe, we can help. Because in the 1800s we said, there's an overseas mission field. What can we do as women to support all the work that's going on across the world in a different time? What can we do? That we have a big stake in promoting the world work of our church and enabling not all we can to do the aid work, which we do, but also supporting the church to support other churches to do the church's work. So I've just been telling Bradley about a recent experience that I had when I had the amazing experience of going to a thing in Sri Lanka. And on the Friday morning, Martin and I were taken to a bombed out church from the Sri Lankan Civil War, and we were sat down in a room with 5 former freedom fighters from the Tamil Tigers, talking about the impact on their lives of having spent 25 years fighting as, in some people speak, terrorists for a defeated army. Who is doing anything about rebuilding community and lives and a whole way destroyed? The government has not been able to set up a Truth and Reconciliation Commission, but the Methodist Church has stepped in and is working with communities and people whose lives have fallen apart because of the time that they have spent doing things that were defeated, in order to bring them as community leaders, which they are, to the fore in developing fullness of life in their villages and wider communities. I have never sat in a room with somebody who said, I was putting up an outside broadcast unit when the army came to arrest us. I took my cyanide pill, but it didn't work. And I couldn't say, oh! But everything inside me was saying, oh! It was an astonishing thing. And they said, today is our great Hindu festival. It was Mahashivratri. And we were at the temple setting up. And then we said, sorry, we've got to go now. And the people at the temple said, where are you going? And they said, we're going to church. And the people at the temple said, it's Mahashivratri. Why are you going to church? And they said, we want to tell this Methodist who's coming from England about how fantastic the work is that the church there is doing, supporting what the Methodist Church in Sri Lanka is doing across communities, in education and healthcare, and looking after orphan girls and all the rest of it, but also in the work they are doing in our communities in restoring lives. And that is what the World Mission Fund enables us to do, and that is what Bradley is coming to talk to you about. So 3 myths to counter. 1, the money goes to Methodist women. It does not. Second, it's only about Methodist women. It is not. And third, you send the money to Methodist women. There's Nina in the room. You do not. You give it to your district treasurer, and if your district treasurer gives it back and says, oh, this is for Methodist women, you know the answer. It is not. I've heard of ministers who say, oh, we're not doing that service here. And because of that, try and see if we can shift this from being a Methodist women thing to a church thing that Methodist women serve the church to deliver. And somebody has said, and I don't know who, but apparently there's a bit of a story going around saying it doesn't actually go to the World Mission Fund, you know. They put it somewhere else. They do not. Bradley. And thank you for all of that.
You know, I probably spent about 5 minutes saying, Barbara, are you sure you want me to come up with you first? She's like, yeah, come up with me. I didn't realise it was to be your clicker.
I don't want you to stand there feeling useless.
I could have sat there.
Carry on.
Morning, everyone. It's absolutely wonderful to be with you all this morning, and it is true. I've not been here this weekend, but I walked in this morning and I thought, what a great atmosphere. I feel empowered, genuinely, I feel empowered to be sharing with you this morning from Global Relationships. So, yeah, my name is Brad, or Bradley, if I'm in trouble. I guess it's a Sunday, so if you call me Bradley, I'll call you Bradley. Yes, ma'am. It's absolutely wonderful to be here, genuinely. I only grew up all of about 5 minutes down the road from here. So I used to come here quite regularly, actually, growing up, for the school awards evening at the end of the academic year. I would be walking around at Hayes Conference Centre, having not been nominated for anything, but I was there anyway. And it was really, really good. It was really, really good. Actually, the last time I did a school... This is totally off-piste, but here we go. Last time I did a school awards evening thing, I was in a metal band. Oh, how edgy. And we got invited to come and be kind of the entertainment kind of midway through the celebration. They had no idea what was turning up. We'd come from the school, and then since leaving the school and going to college, I got invited back. I had shaved my head and become a punk, and I had a mohawk. So that was the last time I was at Hayes Conference Centre. Very, very, very exciting times. So it's good to be back with a full head of hair. I am a huge fan of the work that the Methodist women in Britain have done to fund the World Mission Fund, and that is not understated, and I will get into that in my slides. And I am so, so thankful, because what has come from the Easter offering has changed lives world over, but not just world over, in me too. And I will get on to that, and I am so unbelievably thankful for what you have done. But before we get to that, let's have some history. Let's go. So the Global Methodist family, as Barbara's just said, has 80 million members, but we connect to many more. So I had a bit of a rundown with the leader of Global Relationships, Andy Dye, and I was like, so are our partners the ones that are lit or the ones that aren't lit? And weirdly, it's the ones that aren't lit, which I think is very weird. Why would you darken the places we're partnered with? Anyway, not my decision. We're going with it. So we have 107 partners across the world. And within that, we have 62 partner churches and 45 partner organisations. So that might be theological colleges, councils of churches, and things like that. And the finance that supports all of the work that we do across these 107. So this is slightly outdated and will most likely change again soon with tensions, especially around theological tensions that have kind of been mentioned already. But that is kind of currently where we're at, although it is due to probably change soon. And the finance that supports all of that is from the World Mission Fund. So this is your global relationships team. So we have Andy Dye in the top left-hand corner, and he's the director of global relationships. Technically, it's quite funny in a minute, it's got interim at the end of his email signatures, but I'm hoping he stays on because he lets me come to do stuff like this. So that's Andy. And then we have our partnership coordinators in Andrew, who is the partnership coordinator for Africa as a region. We have the partnership coordinator for Europe in Barry, who is actually in situ as well. He lives and works out in Chemnitz in Germany. Then there is Sheila, who is the partnership coordinator for Asia and the Pacific. Now, Sheila is fascinating. She was a mission partner in Japan for over 30 years. So her understanding of her region is absolutely incredible. In fact, all of them are. Andrew grew up in Zimbabwe. Like I said, Barry is already in situ. And then we have Sandra in the left-hand corner, who is Colombian, and her region is the Americas. And then we have Trudy, next to who is the World Mission Fund. I've got notes. You see, if you refer to the notes, you don't get it wrong. She is the World Mission Fund officer, so she works with the finance team to get the grants and things like that through. Then there is Reverend Dr. Reynaldo Leo Neto, and he is the Global Communities officer. That kind of work is where we have people who have come from overseas, who are from Methodist backgrounds, who have come and set up Methodist churches over here, but from their own kind of cultural experience. It's fantastic work that Leo is doing. But you might notice that you're missing someone. I wonder who that is. Oh, yeah, baby. Oh, yeah, there I am. And I have been a part of the Global Relationships team since September, so I'm still the newbie. And this is the first kind of event that I've come to speak at, so thank you very much for having me this morning. If you have any issues, take it up with Barbara. If I've done really well, you can email Andy Dye. So the World Mission Fund, there's just so much to say about it. I'm just looking at my notes, I'm like, wow, I didn't realise I'd made that many. It's contributed by multiple people, so we have Methodists in Britain, we have the William Leach Foundation, we have wonderful donations from yourself here at the Methodist Women in Britain, and also our colleagues and friends over at the Methodist Church in Ireland and Hong Kong also pay into the World Mission Fund. We kind of are going through a grants process at the moment, and we are capacity building grants, and they are currently in process with where things are. At the minute, we have dispersed £6.3 million in the World Mission Fund into different areas across the world. That is life-changing work. That is life-changing work. £6.3 million is life-changing work, and that has gone across the regions, which I'll break down in a moment. The reason we have started to give away kind of this amount of money is to comply with the Charity Commission recommendation on funds, but is also, in effect, rebalancing the relationship between partners. We are key at partnership. That is huge. It's not about us coming in and lording over different communities across the world. This is about partnership and giving them the power. What do they need the money for is massive as to what we do in global relationships. But of course, the dispersal of large amounts of funds will have knock-on effects in the overall finances of the numbers of mission partners that we can support. I know that is going to probably dry a few mouths out in here as we go through this very difficult time in global relationships. This, however, there is some plus sides to that money being spent, of course, and that's the life-changing work that we're able to do. And it's given the churches their time to say, this is what we need this money for, and this is how we can change our lives where we are. So it's a difficult scale, isn't it? Life-changing work, but some life-changing work has to end. It's really difficult to navigate that. Also, each year there is grant funding of £250,000 in solidarity grants, and that's where we are probably responding to emergencies. That is kind of what that money is for that we have. So the pictures on the screen are ways where the World Mission Fund has supported some of our partners. So the one in Ukraine supports a church in Poland who are supporting Ukrainian refugees. The picture from Rwanda is a feeding program after some flooding. In Tonga, relief work after they suffered a tsunami. Nigeria is PPE from COVID. We gave them the support that they needed for the PPE. And in Peru, the church in Peru was helping set up local clinics across the riverbanks. We think it's the Amazon, but we can't be certain, so we're going with the river that is pictured is the correct terminology. But we think it's the Amazon. But if anyone asks, it's just the one that's pictured. So in the past year, kind of the grants that we gave away was £1,970,000. Over 115,000 of that went to Africa. To the Americas, we had 41,000. To Asia, we had 25,000. And into Europe, we had £12,000. Amazing, isn't it? That is lives that you have helped change. This is your impact of the work that you have done. And for that, we are so, so thankful. Now, here are some of our mission partners, and that is one of the huge ways in which the World Mission Fund is used. Partner churches and organisations still are requesting for the Methodist Church in Britain to send mission partners to work with them in various aspects of their mission and ministry. At this moment in time, there is still over 20 mission partners. There's still over 20 mission partners. And they serve in hospitals, schools, clinics, in the liaison office in Rome, evangelism, discipleship training, pastoral work, theological colleges, and refugee support. And that work will continue to go on past August this year. That work will continue to go on. It will just look different, but that work will continue. But that isn't everything that the World Mission Fund does. It's not just the relief work or the solidarity grants or the capacity building grants or the mission partners. There is different projects that the World Mission Fund supports. And this is kind of what I fall under. So my official title is Programme Delivery Officer. If we want the full title, it's Global Relationships Programme Delivery Officer. But nobody really cares, do they? Those two words didn't change your opinion on me at all. So we have Encounter Together, which is short visits to encounter church work in other countries. And with for young people, we have additional funding, which is where the World Mission Fund steps in. We're currently working on maybe doing an encounter together next year in Ghana, but that's I say hush hush, but I've just pronounced it to an entire room of people. But we're working on it. This is a key time to say maybe. Everything Barbara said about maybe earlier, this is a maybe. So we're maybe getting together an encounter together to Ghana next year. We also have Encounter Worldwide, which is voluntary placements for 3 to 12 months, and again, bursaries for Methodists aged 18 to 26. We currently have former youth president Phoebe Parkin. She is out in Colombia currently working with SAPALC, doing some great work in kind of reconciliation work actually between some of the gangs and normal society happening in Colombia, and that in part is funded by the World Mission Fund. And then there are the Global Mission Fellows, which is a 2-year program which is run by the United Methodist Church in obviously based in America, but is world over. And we have a Global Mission Fellow actually here in the UK at the moment. They are at Wesley's Chapel. Jessie, I had the pleasure of meeting her not long after she came to the UK. I think I met her in January time. And that is, again, some great work that the World Mission Fund is helping with. And then we have some of the pictures here. There's a surf project, some Hong Kong refugee work going on. So again, a whole host of work that the World Mission Fund is doing, which again is supported by you wonderful people. So, my personal experience of the World Mission Fund. Back in 2019, I was able to go out to Barbados with Aldersgate Renewal Ministries, and we had a great time ministering the works of the Holy Spirit in a new context. It's work we've done over here, but we had been invited to go over to Barbados and lead for an Aldersgate weekend, which ended up being 10 days. In Barbados, and it was absolutely wonderful in so many ways. But the way that the World Mission Fund helped me and my now wife were because we were young. We were the youngest on the team by quite a considerable amount of time. We were studying at Cliff College at the time, and somebody got in contact with Global Relationships and said, "We've got these 2 young people going out to do mission in Barbados. Do you mind covering the cost of their flights?" To which the World Mission Fund turned around and said, "Yes, we do not mind at all." So, with the money that I had given, I got a refund with. And with that money that I got a refund with, I did that. You all have a role in my marriage. So, I am incredibly thankful for the Methodist women in Britain and the work that has gone on ever since with our 2 wonderful children as well. So that was our time in Barbados. That was the final night. I had to speak to the trip leader. I was like, "So I think I'm going to propose to Rosie. Like, when's the best time to do it?" It's like, "You have ministry to do. It's the last night." So yes, sir. So that's what we did. And then me and Rosie, between 2021 and 2023, we were mission partners, also out in Germany. Now, we had a bit of a sad time, unfortunately, although it's met with also great joy. When Rosie fell pregnant with our little daughter, Ada, who turned 1 last weekend, she was very, very, very sick. And was throwing up multiple times a day. People who have had children in the room, morning sickness is a real thing, and it can last much longer than the morning. Unfortunately, it meant that we had to come home due to not being able to get the level of healthcare that we needed. But the time we had in Germany before that was fantastic. So the bottom left picture is in Dortmund, which was one of the closest cities we was in. The church on the far right-hand side is the church we went to in Bochum. And then there was this one service, and I'd done Teze before, and I'm not going to lie to you, I weren't a huge fan of it. But the church, I know, this changed my mind, I'm getting there, don't worry. And we went to, and the church were like, oh, we do this Teze service. And me and Rosie were like, are we really going to travel half an hour to go? We're like, we've done Teze. And we thought we'd done Teze. That is one of the closest encounters I've ever had to Jesus Christ in that room. It was unbelievable. It was heavenly. It was holy. The word holy means set apart, right? And it was holy. It really, really was. So we're thankful for those memories that we had as mission partners. This is just some other things that the World Mission Fund has done. I won't keep you for too much longer. You could probably all do with a bit of a shake, shimmy and a roll to get yourselves moving again, ready for worship. So this is the East Africa and Climate Justice for All that was going on. And so that's a project that brought together young people from 5 countries. They worked together for over 18 months during the pandemic and created resources to promote climate justice in their own context. They attended COP26 and spoke, as well as delivering online sessions. Methodist Women in Britain was really supportive of the work that was done. And the young people involved in this project have gone on to be more involved in their own churches, national circles, and international circles. And that is what the World Mission Fund is about. This was a solidarity grant that had an immediate effect on the community that had received it. Unfortunately, I can't fully remember what it was, but because water, I can see water. See, this is why you reread your notes. I was stood up here that entire time, and I could have been reading this slide. Instead, I was clicking for you. That's okay. And then Mediterranean Hope is working with refugees, and we have a mission partner who is out working with Mediterranean Hope. It actually started as an aftermath of a shipwreck on the 3rd of October on the island, in one of the Italian islands, and 368 people died in an attempt to reach Italy across the Mediterranean Sea. So Mediterranean Hope aims to support migrants with their right to migrate, applications for protection, self-determination, solidarity activities, reception, implementation of safe and legal pathways, a whole host of different things. Operates in various border areas, working with local communities, church, civil society and institutions. Again, is supported by the World Mission Fund and our mission partner that we have there as well. And then on my second to last slide, we do church twinning or district twinning. I know that there are some Methodist women in Britain who are involved quite directly in church twinning, which is where we partner either a church or a district to a church, a Methodist church overseas. I had the privilege while I was in the office earlier this week of meeting, I think her name was Irene, really involved in church twinning, but was a mission partner for years as well, and she happened to be in the office. I think she's also a part of Methodist Women in Britain. And she said she would be watching on Zoom, but I'm a little bit later than I said. Oh, if Irene's on Zoom, I hope you're okay. Yes, yeah, she's at Wesley Chapel this morning, she told me. So that is one of the things that we have. So the Birmingham district is twinned with Zimbabwe, Plymouth and Exeter, with North India, Cumbria and Argentina, which is where Irene is, and then Wolverhampton and Shrewsbury is with Rwanda.
There's another new twinning with Zimbabwe.
Yes, in Harare West.
Yeah, with Harare West.
Yeah, that is happening, and we are keen to. Again, this is about partnership. Everything that we do, this is why we're global relationships, is we want relations. We want healthy relations and partnerships with Methodist churches and people across the world. And this is such a good way of achieving that. It's such a good way of achieving that. So if you're interested in church twinning, this again falls under my remit. So talk to me or send me an email or something. I've not put my email on the screen. This is, again, to go in my notes for next time. It's my first time. Go easy on me. Anyway, if you are wondering how to get more involved, not like you already do enough, but if you were wondering, we have the Methodist Handbook, Right Prayers. These are read every single day by people all over the world. Right Prayers, so important. Online events, so we have the Jerusalem Liaison Office is holding weekly prayers on a Wednesday. That is one thing that you could get involved in. Global Relationships also host a webinar every May and September called Radiate. That is something else you could get involved in. There's climate action, becoming an advocate, making a difference where we are now. I did, when I was at Cliff, I did a lecture about climate justice, and the lecturer said that the passage that leads me into being more passionate about climate justice isn't anything to do with the world. It's love your neighbour, because what we do here affects our neighbours across the world. And I think that has always stayed with me. So that's something we can get involved in. Global relationships are... So some churches have theme weekends. I'm going to do a service next month. And you can book us, kind of like this morning. So you might get this guy turn up at your church to do another talk. Or you might get somebody else from the team as well. You can sign up to the newsletter or the e-news, which kind of comes out looking a bit like that. The next one is going to be out in the next couple of weeks. Again, get involved in church twinning and look at how we can learn from our Methodist family across the world into being the light and hope for our communities over here. Giving, again, not like you don't already, but this is changing lives, honestly. It really is. And it, like I said, it changed my life. So I'm very, very thankful. And please do continue to give, because the work that you've seen done isn't possible without the World Mission Fund and without the Easter offering. And go. If you feel able to go. This is a group trip that went out to Haiti in 2017. Feel free to go. Experience the world, experience Methodism. I think this is one thing that is so important, is that yes, we are one Methodist body over here, but there's an entire world full of Methodists, full of Christians, and it is amazing to be partnered with them. So I hope that's kind of given you a bit of flavour of what the World Mission Fund does, and why we are so thankful for the Methodist women in Britain, and for the way that you help change lives every single time one of those grants is given away to someone, or every single time that a young boy gets down on a knee in Barbados on the last night of a mission trip. Because I didn't know then, and I only found out the other day. I'd heard that the World Mission Fund had paid for that, and then I was talking to Andy, and he was like, "Oh, I remember signing that off," and I didn't know who Andy was, who signed off for that, and the impact that then had on my life following that. So thank you so much for having me come and talk. I think I'm staying until lunch, I think is what I agreed. And if not, I am now. But it's really, really good to be with you. Thank you for having me. And yeah, thank you very much.
One last fact. Over the last 2 or 3 years, the non-COVID years, the work of Methodist Women in Britain has raised between 150 and 200,000 pounds every Easter offering service. I'd really like us to move it more mainstream and keep that figure moving significantly above the 200,000. It constitutes, and you know, this is a percentage, things change, it constitutes a tenth of the funding of all the global relationships work. So that's a really significant chunk of money. And if you want to talk to me and Brad about anything in that, then we're here and we're happy to talk about things. Please go have coffee. What time do you